Good afternoon, one and all, and welcome to episode 282 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you, as always, live on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching, whether you are watching the recording or you are watching live. Just so that you know what to expect from this episode, it's going to be a slightly longer one today, maybe somewhere in the region of sort of half an hour to 40 minutes, because we're going to try and cover all four of these new and newish releases, which I am calling new releases for June 2022, although they may not necessarily, all strictly speaking, be new for June, but they are new to me. And we have got a kind of new limited edition thing from Maison Kurkdjian, brand new from Dusita, the latest from Skandinavisk, and also a completely new brand, or at least as far as perfume is concerned, a completely new brand. First comment goes to Genie404, who says, "Hey everyone, always feel free to leave a comment, ask a question, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. I usually get round to all of them in due course." And lots of comments coming through. Marhaba from Saudi Arabia, says VBS. Hello from Singapore, says S. Omar. Good evening from Denmark, says Maudlin. We've got Portugal, North Devon, somebody else from Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. Gosh, you're all tuning in. Okay, but we need to get on. So let's start with this, because I suppose it's the most high profile release that we've got here, although it's going to be something that's familiar to all of you, to a lot of you. This is from Maison Kurkdjian. Kurkdjian, of course, being the current in-house nose at none other than Christian Dior. And this is a limited edition extrait presentation of à la Rose, which the brand is calling the, can you see that there? The Elixir Précieux, so precious elixirs. Now, when I looked up à la Rose just before starting this video, I was really quite shocked to discover that it first came out in 2014. Now, I know the last 2 years are the 2 years that kind of never happened, but even so, I couldn't quite believe that à la Rose, which I think is one of the best things he's done for his brand, has been with us for that long. Right, let's do the unwrapping. Oh, somebody is saying hello from Prague, but currently en route to Vienna. Safe journey. We've got Philippines here as well, Melbourne, Australia. You're all very welcome. Okay, so what do we get in this special presentation? I know that they're roll-ons, and I know that that's the point at which a lot of people go, "Oh, I quite like roll-ons," or they think, I've never been entirely convinced by roll-ons. There's something about the ritual of a spray that I really like, but I can see why for an extrait they are actually probably quite a sensible, practical way of doing the dabbing, applying directly onto skin thing, which might be more difficult to achieve with a traditional extrait bottle. Right, let's get this out. À la Rose is underrated, says Woozy, because Baccarat Rouge 540 sucks all of the attention. Yeah, well, we're à la Rose fans here, and not such big fans. This is not working, and not such big fans of Baccarat Rouge. Let me maybe try it from the other end. Oh my goodness, I'm making a complete pig's ear of this. Okay, here we go. Let's pop that on there. Always very beautiful packaging from Francis Kurkdjian. Oh, a little booklet. Okay, and this is what you get. So you get 4 little roll-on bottles, and I believe each one is 4 mils, so 16 mils in all. I think I've reviewed pretty much the entire à la Rose range in one form or another, either on persolaise.com or here on the videos. I remember I enjoyed the L'eau à la Rose, but not such a huge fan of, was it called L'homme à la Rose, the supposedly masculine version. And I know I don't normally apply things directly on skin, but I think with this one, I've got to really, haven't I? Because doing a roll-on onto paper is never going to work. So here we go. I also seem to recall that we did have an extrait version of à la Rose a little while ago, but I think that particular bottle has disappeared, and maybe this is meant to be its replacement, although, as I say, the brand are calling this a limited edition as well. Okay, so Paolo says, I'm not a big fan of the lighter scents of MFK. They seem a bit too generic and quite harsh. Perspective says, not into rolling it on. I prefer my 8 to 10 sprays. Yeah. Mind you, if you roll this on, see, Alain Rose is just, I seem to recall one of the last times I interviewed Francis Kurkdjian. I mean, I interviewed him recently for Harrods magazine, but that was more an interview in which we talked about the future and we talked about Baccarat Rouge 540. But before that, before he became Mr. Dior, one of the times when he came over to London, when I interviewed him, I think he was I mean, he didn't quite want to say it, but I got the feeling that he was almost a little bit taken aback by the success of À la Rose, because I think to his mind, it's quite a simple piece of work. I hope I'm not putting incorrect words into his mouth, but and I remember saying to him that maybe that's why it was successful, because maybe it's not overly fussy, and it doesn't have unnecessary bells and whistles, and it is just such a simply and stunningly beautiful rose scent, and all of the loveliest facets of the rose are coming out now in this extrait version. There's a beautiful jammy quality to it. It's I suppose what it isn't, and à la rose itself never was that. It's not especially peppery, it's not especially dark or moody or fiery. It's tending towards dewiness. It's tending towards sweetness, maybe a violet quality, but it somehow manages to also be very, very naturalistic and realistic, which is something that a lot of rose perfumes, especially from brands like MFK, don't manage to achieve. What can I tell you about this? In the extrait de parfum variation, says the brand, À la Rose features no less than 800 centifolia and Damascena roses. Of course, that should be no fewer, but we'll put that one aside. Radiating a free and bright femininity, elegantly presented in an on-the-go format. True, perfect for traveling. This precious elixir can be applied on the inside of the wrist and crook of the elbow at the nape of the neck, on the hairline, chest area, thus creating an intimate alchemy with the skin. Okay, thank you very much, but what's in it? Tell us what's in it. So, we've got supposedly musks. Initially extracted from Tibetan musk deers, natural musk has been banned in perfumery since 1973. I didn't know the exact date, actually. Interesting. Synthetic molecules designed to replace it appeared at the end of the 19th century, so today there is a wide selection of musky notes with an olfactory palette ranging from fruity to woody to animal facets. Musks are very persistent and relatively non-volatile base notes. They've been extensively used in detergents and fabric softeners. I'm impressed this is all in the official information, right? And are commonly referred to as white musks because they evoke the scent of soft, fluffy, clean linen and conjure up a feeling of tenderness and comfort suitable for all kinds of fragrances. With their inimitable mellowness, highly appreciated by the general public, today musky notes are present in the vast majority of women's and men's perfumes. Then there is also meant to be a sweet pea note, which I totally get. It's got that spring-like, summer-like loveliness that you associate with sweet pea, and then onto the rose. Centifolia rose, also called May rose because that is the month of its flowering. It blooms in Grasse in the south of France. It is the other variety used in perfumery along with the Damascena rose. Its name, 100 leaves, in Latin centifolia, right, is explained by its numerous overlapping petals. Particularly delicate, it flowers only once a year, which explains its rarity and its high cost. And in fact, unless I'm mistaken, rose season is in the south of France, I think, happening sort of right now. It finishes almost as soon as it starts, doesn't it? The roses are picked by hand early in the morning, too delicate to be distilled. The harvested rose centifolia blooms are extracted with volatile solvents to obtain an absolute. This rose absolute is used in the heart and base notes of a perfume. Its generous and complex rose floral notes stand out by their beautiful petal-like effect and honeyed facet. So I suppose we've also got to find out what they say about the Damascena. In perfumery, only two varieties of rose are used for their fragrant properties, Rosa Damascena and Centifolia. The Damascena rose, or damask rose's appeal, lies in its highly distinctive honeyed accents and slightly spicy scent. that's the one that always has my heart. Okay, the Damascena, originally from Persia. This very old variety is the most used in perfumery. It is now cultivated in Bulgaria, Turkey, or Iran. Different perfume products such as rose water, rose oil, and rose absolute are obtained by using various methods of extraction, each with their distinctive olfactory characteristics. The rose absolute is obtained by volatile solvent extraction. It has generous, rosy, floral notes used mainly in the heart and base of a fragrance. And then, sure enough, it also goes on to say that there is a violet facet to it as well, so which there totally is. And if you think of just this really gorgeous harmony of sweet pea, rose, and violet on a beautiful but not overdone plush cocoon-like powdery base of musks, you get a sense of what these extraits are like. Yeah, I think these are going to be keepers, because it is always nice to be able to sort of whip something special out of a pocket, and I have a feeling they would be the kind of thing that would actually work extremely well in slightly warmer weather, maybe not boiling humid weather, but just, Mediterranean weather, because the heat would probably cause the roses to bloom really beautifully on skin. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this develops. So obviously I will not be able to do a blotter update on this one. I'll have to do a skin update. Perhaps I'll sort of put some over here after the video is over. What are people saying, though? Emma says, I actually transfer many of my own perfumes into roll-on containers. Interesting. I find the format highly convenient and the perfect option between splash and spray. And yes, roses across the country right now. What country is that, Emma? I can't remember where you are. Krasimir says, it's the midst of the rose harvest season in the Rose Valley in Bulgaria. And Prashant is saying good evening from India as well. Okay, so we've started with a good one. Now let's go to one that I have already smelt before. This one, as you see, hasn't even been opened yet, and this one hasn't been opened yet either. But this is one I've smelt before. From Dusita, officially launched just a couple of days ago. This is a brand that I know a lot of you really love and rate very highly, even though I don't think I've mentioned it a great deal. I think I've covered a few of their perfumes, maybe one or two here in the past. And I thought, okay, as there is a new launch, an opportunity to talk about them. This is called, as I'm sure a lot of you now know, because I think the news of the launch hit the internet a few days ago. This is called Montri, and this is a press release bottle. And what can I tell you about this? The brand Dusita was founded a few years ago by Paris-based Pisara Umavijani. And many of you will know that for, I think, all of her perfumes, I'm pretty much sure it is all of them, she has taken inspiration from the poetry of her late father, Montri Umavijani. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and her name correctly as well, by the way. But for this particular perfume, not only has she decided to be inspired by, or she has found herself to be inspired by one of his poems, she has actually been directly inspired by him, by his personality, by his character, by him as a person. And so that is why she has called this perfume, she has given it his name, Montri. And she was explaining in the press launch the other day that as this is her 13th launch, and as 13 is quite an auspicious number for her, she wanted to use that as an opportunity to create a very special piece of work, hence something almost done as a sort of homage to her father. In case you're interested, from my very limited knowledge of his poetry, the Montri's works tend to be quite short, so I think we can read out the poem that is meant to go with this perfume, because it is very brief. It's only a few lines, okay? As far as I know, it doesn't have a title. So this is the poem for this, sent by Montri Umavijani. The pen is me, and I am the pen. In writing, the pen gets lost to become part of the thing I cannot recall. so we're not going to sort of do an English literature analysis in A-level English literature class on this here, but clearly the idea is meant to be about how the art and the artist get lost within each other, and then you don't know where the one ends and the other one begins. I'm not sure that necessarily gives you a sense of what the perfume is like. So I think we should spray some. It's a highly concentrated EDP. I seem to recall Pissarra saying in the press launch that it's concentrated at 27%. Now, if any of you, and by the way, I'm not seeing you writing very much about this particular brand. So if you have tried something from them, I'd be curious to find out. But if we can characterize their scents, I think we would have to say that they are pretty dense, pretty baroque, really, really larger than life pieces of work, maybe ones certainly very, very complex, maybe ones that almost have a kind of retro inflection. There is nothing minimalist about them. One of the most interesting ones is their oud infini, which is like one of the most shocking ouds that I think you can buy this side of the Bosphorus. And this one is no exception. It's big. It definitely blooms much more interestingly on skin than it does on paper, but even so, I'm not going to overdo it with the skin stuff now. But here we are. So this is the new Montri from Dusita. Maudlin says, I've only seen the brand online, but never had a chance to smell any. Unless I'm mistaken, they do a discovery set. And if you are on the lookout for another larger than life brand to add to your collection, then I think you need to check them out. Woozy says, have you tried Cavatina? Apparently it's a good lily of the valley from Dusita. I remember the iris wasn't to my liking with its focus on the T note accord. Do you know what? I want to say that I have tried Cavatina, but I can't remember it. And I think, yes, I think I did think that it was a pretty good lily of the valley. Anyway, what is this? What's in Montri? Okay, so I think straight away you can completely see where the creation might be going with this evocation of a distinguished older gent. There is definitely a kind of 1960s, 1970s masculine composition type vibe happening here. Maybe the kind of thing that the Estee Lauder or the Aramis companies may have released for men around about that period, in the sense that it comes across initially as an authoritative, strong leather. But then you start thinking, okay, there is more happening here. There is a floral aspect that starts coming across. And by the way, in the press launch, we were talked through the three sort of main, very, very broad accords that have supposedly gone into this fragrance. So there's a sort of spice accord, a floral accord, which could mean all sorts of things, really, floral accord, and an oud accord. But it's not anywhere like the kind of oud that we get from the brand in their oud infini. Woozy is saying oud infini was nice, but at that price, I prefer the Bortnikov ouds. Okay, interesting. And so you get this leathery, woody, definitely oud-like, but not overly animalic, not overly sort of stinky facet, somehow being softened by the florals. It's all tending towards the abstract, that there isn't a particular single material that you can pick out. So, for instance, I can't particularly pick out any specific spices, except maybe the kind of brown bark-like sweetness of cinnamon. But it's not one of those perfumes where you smell it and you think, oh yes, yes, there's the cardamom note, there's the nutmeg note, there's the pepper note. It doesn't work like that. And I don't think any of her perfumes work like that, really. And having worn it on skin yesterday for a good part of the day, I have to say I really, really enjoyed its journey. And it does take you on a journey. It does take you on a good old-fashioned sort of classical perfume structure journey. And it ends on this base of leather and vetiver, which every now and then called to mind Galan's vetiver, but not in a direct way. It was just that sense of a very, very humble, well-mannered, distinguished, older gent. And so in that sense, also, it made me think a bit of Amouage Honor Man, which I think is one of the most beautiful evocations of that sort of a figure. Perfectly unisex, would you say? Well, you know, I don't particularly like I mean, I absolutely think that anybody could wear this. And there were moments as well, to kind of keep going with the Guerlain thing, that it reminded me of Chamade, completely unexpectedly. I mean, Chamade has got this, you know, this strong hyacinth floral aspect, but I think maybe there's something of the complexity of it. And sure enough, in the press launch, Pissarra told us that her father was particularly fond of Guerlain and was especially fond of Mitsuko and L'Heure Bleue. And she didn't say that she particularly took direct inspiration from those scents for this one, but you get a sense of that complexity here. And yes, and then shades of Estee Lauder's Azuré, or maybe older versions of the original Aramis, you know, that kind of really nicely done, slightly green, leathery note. My two favorite Guerlains as well, says Maudlin. So well worth checking out this one. And yeah, I will definitely be taking it on a few more wearing journeys over the weeks to come. And I'll definitely tell you how it's doing with the blotter update as well. Oh, lots of love for L'Heure Bleue coming too. I love the adjective humble for a fragrance, says Emma. Yes, although, you know, as soon as I said it, I thought, okay, for something that's as large as this, do I mean humble? But I think I do, because, so, you know, that I don't want to say gentle giant, because that's a bit of a cliche, but, you know, somebody who absolutely convinces you of their authoritativeness and yet also somehow manages to give you all of their time and give you all of their attention, like the kind of perfect grandfather figure, if you see what I mean. What else can I tell you? Let's actually do a little quote from Pissarra. My father's poetry is at the core of every single fragrance I compose, she writes. For my 13th perfume, I wanted to pay an even more direct homage to his personality. Named after him, Montri conveys aspects of his character and idiosyncrasies, the things he loved and believed in, as well as the fragrances he mostly enjoyed. Wanting to reflect the soul's eternal character, I went one step further. I imagined what kind of fragrance he would have loved today had he still been alive. And then the brand goes on to say, a unique, unforgettable fragrance centered around precious oud pilau, surrounded by orris butter, soft spices, elegant florals, and noble woods. Also containing notes of rose de may, saffron, a blend of spices, and a touch of oud. I like the fact that they say it's a touch of oud. Oh, sorry, I'm smelling the rose one now. I'm getting confused. The rose is doing really well as well. In fact, can you imagine sort of, no, I know we don't do layering here, but authoritative without trying to convince you of it, says Maudlin. It's effortlessly authoritative. Great. Okay. So that's two out of the way. Let's move on to this. Now, again, because I am not a fashion guru in any sense of the word at all, I wasn't overly aware of this brand called Off-White, but I gather it's got quite an interesting history, because it was founded by a designer called Virgil Abloh, and it seems he passed away not that long ago, completely unexpectedly. He was the menswear designer for Louis Vuitton for a while. I think LVMH bought up a large share of his brand. But anyway, they have now got scents. They have now got 4 scents under their paperwork range. Each one is called solution number something or other. There's the solution numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I have been sent a bottle of number 4, presumably because whoever sent it thought that this is the one I would like best. I did manage to look up that this is composed by Jérôme Epinette, but I know nothing else about it. Off-White is very big in streetwear, says Woozy. Okay. Alicia says, Persolaise, my friend Gonzalo, who showed me your channel, had his birthday, and I wondered if you could wish him a happy birthday. Now, hang on, somebody else told me about this. Was it his birthday on Friday? If so, happy belated birthday. Everybody think good thoughts in his direction, and happy belated birthday to him. Not a fan of Ablo's work, says Changlu. Oh. Who needs fashion when you have style, Mr. P? Ooh, nice one. Anyway, let's see what this is like. Really don't know what to expect. Although I suppose if it's Jerome Epinette, I think I may know what to expect, but I shouldn't prejudge. Interesting packaging. Oh, this is feeling like it's fallen apart a little bit, even though it probably shouldn't have. Never mind. Quick fix. How many of you have seen these bottles? Oh, what? Did you hear that squeaking? That's was it Benetton that years and years ago did like a hot and cold perfume that had taps on them? Somebody, Jerome Epinette is starting to get more contract, lol, says Woozy. Somebody help me out. Wasn't there a hot Benetton that was red and a cold Benetton that was blue, or was that completely another brand? That's immediately made me think of that. Okay, let's put this away somehow first. So solution, oh, this box is, maybe it's meant to do that. Who knows? What yes, I remember the Benetton one says, it was Benetton, wasn't it? Pretty sure it was Benetton. What's the best way to display this? Oh, I don't know. Let's pop this here. And I mean, I guess it is, I guess if it's a streetwear brand, I suppose it's quite a cool bottle. It's a bit comme des garçons as well, isn't it? And so what, oh, okay, so you just lift it off. There I was thinking you'd have to screw it off. Anyway, or unscrew it off. Okay. Let's see. Ablo liked to recycle ideas, says Chang. No wonder. Okay. Right, let's see what this is going to be like. So solution number 4. If this is the 4th solution, what was the 4th problem, right? Where can we pop this? Let's pop Dusita over here so we can put this one over there. Oh, Jeannie says cold was citrus and hot was amber. See, I don't remember that much. Okay, it's a perfectly nice, interesting, well done, spicy opening. Maybe that's why they thought that this would be the one that I would be interested in. Paolo says that's not streetwear, that's hanging out by the fire department wear. Yes, there's definitely that. I guess it's eye-catching. It's gonna be striking in shops. I don't know who stocks it in the UK. And I suppose not especially complex, straight on, upon spray. And there's a kind of dry woodiness to it. See, the style that I associate so much now with Jerome Epinette is an excessive use of synthetic sandalwoods and all of those notes that are faux Arabian. And I'm getting a feeling that this might be heading in that direction, although not off-puttingly so at the moment. What else can we get out of it? Yeah, that kind of a sort of very clean, citrusy thing happening at the top. Pepperiness. Maybe a nutmeg type feel. Patchouli woodiness in the base. I think probably a whole load of cashmeran or something similar to it. Making me think at the moment of when Mathilde Laurent did the Declaration flanker, the Déclaration d'un soir, which had a lot of cashmeran in it too. I kind of feel like we've smelt this before. But let us see what I can tell you about it. Not a huge amount. I've got really a very tiny bit of information about it. Solution 4 is a fresh urban aroma, contrasted by a warm, woody and leathery base to recreate a world of comfort and fullness. I suppose it's got a kind of comforting aspect to it. A fragrance with a chic streetwear spirit, oh, there's that word again, where nature, symbolized by eucalyptus, lavender and woods, takes possession of the city represented by black leather. if you say so. This unisex fragrance also invites itself into your home for even more well-being and harmony. What does that mean? Does that mean that you can just spray it in your house? Well, I mean, you could do that with any perfume that you want. So top note of eucalyptus, a heart note of vetiver, and a base note of course, sandalwood. More detail: eucalyptus, fig, black tea, and violet in the top, tobacco, lavender, juniper berry, bamboo, and vetiver in the midsection, and then papyrus, sandalwood, palo santo, black leather, and tonka bean in the base. And I think actually that list does give you a sense of what it's like. It's trying to be a kind of dark fireplace scent, and it's fine. I mean, there's, I guess it's just tending towards, yes, we've smelt it before, and so why do we need another one? My memory of Epinette, says Woozy, is mainly his Atelier Cologne work. What specific Arabian style fragrances were you thinking of? Oh, I'd have to think about it, but I'm sure I associated him with an overuse of synthetic sandalwoods. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'm expecting pedestrian cliche freshies from Off-White, says Woozy. But you know what? If I were to see the others in a shop, I would want to smell them. I'd want to see what they were like. And that bottle is, but at least it's trying to do something different, right? Okay, and finally, we go to Skandinavisk for Kapitel 1. Now, I covered, I think, a few of this brand's fragrances a little while ago. And I think we were sort of collectively unimpressed, because we thought that for something that was meant to be pushing this idea of outdoorsy Scandinavian naturalness, that those debut scents really didn't do it. This is Kapitel 1, and let's see, there's a very, very brief press release on it as well. My first Persolaise live, says Tripty. Thank you for your thoughtful brilliance, and thanks also to all on here for sharing your good-humoured insights and for your collective nose. I'm learning so much. That's very kind. Yes, thank you to everybody for always coming up with the most interesting comments. The packaging looks like a child's game, says Emma. Yeah, you're not wrong there. Okay, so this is Kapitel 1. So far, each of them, I think, has been a capital followed by a number, but they haven't gone sequentially. So I don't know why this one deserves the honor of being number 1. Let us see. Let's see. Where can we pop that? Let's pop it. Let's pop it next to the Lego minifigure Persolaise. How does that work? Okay. Okay, I have to say, if memory serves, this is the one that's coming across as the most naturalistic of compared to the ones that I smelled before. And there's something quite intriguingly secretive about it. It feels like a kind of forest undergrowth calling to you very, very quietly. Now, I know that I think it's in Iceland that elves are a very, very important part of the culture, right? In fact, I think some people say that in Iceland, they really do believe in the existence of elves. And why wouldn't they? Because, of course, elves are real, right? If you're watching from Iceland. But there's something immediately I'm kind of reminded of fairy tales, and maybe like little pixies and elves hiding under toadstools, calling to you quietly, trying to lure you out of your picnic area. And there's something chestnutty, soapy chestnutty, and yes, I do kind of in a way mean Badidas, which is never a bad thing, because Badidas bubble bath is like one of the most amazing things on the planet. I just wish they wouldn't keep increasing the price of it. Yeah, but this is, I think maybe this is the first one of theirs that I've smelled that is genuinely managing to do that mist-covered outdoorsy thing that I thought the brand was about. Maudlin says, in Denmark we have elves, but they're dangerous. Oh, I see. What do they do to you? Do they take you to the Creed shop? I'm really intrigued now. What do those? What do they do to you? Let's see what the brand says. Kapitel 1, a woody unisex scent inspired by. Oh, I'm going to not pronounce this properly. Is it Skog or Skog? Calm of the boreal forest. The very first fragrance we launched. Using the same key notes for a deep forest scent, these are now layered with fresh lemon and cypress, whilst cedar and patchouli add woody depth for a modern take. Okay, so I'm not surprised. If this is actually the first scent that they had, but maybe this is the first time they're bottling it as a perfume, I'm not surprised that it's one of the better ones. This is a quote from the perfumer, Stefan Coez, or Coez. I wanted to recreate the noble and natural feeling of the atmosphere of a pine forest, a subtle mixture of fresh note of pine needle accompanied by a warm and woody balsamic background. The idea was to make this perfume a journey in smell, where nature took back all its rights, the pine forest being such an emblematic element of the Scandinavian countries. I used essential oils like pine, lemon, cypress for freshness, cedar and patchouli for the woody dimension, and finally incense, which of course goes very well with fir and pine, and extract of fir balsam to evoke resin. This gender-neutral perfume is an invitation to discover the Scandinavian countries, their art of living, their culture, their nature so well preserved. Yeah, and I think on the strength of just these few minutes on the blotter, they have achieved that. And this is the, what size bottle is this? Because this is the 50 mils, and the 50 mil is £45, and you can also have a 30 mil for £35, and that's not bad. Okay, for something that smells like it has actually been put together with some thought, and that I would certainly consider wearing if I want to do that kind of mysterious pine, I'm a dangerous elf about it. What was Maudlin saying? I would consider wearing this, absolutely. Maudlin says, the elves steal you away in the forests with dancing and drag you under hill, never to be seen again. Wow. Who annoyed them then? It's Me Aubrey says, in folklore, elves usually are not to be trifled with. There's something that one lives with and appeases. Well, like Rumpelstiltskin, actually, I think was supposed to be a kind of elf, wasn't he? And you didn't mess with him. Yeah, this is kind of what we need from this brand, this kind of thing. So, whistle stop tour through 4 cents. Well, actually, no, not whistle stop. We're almost at 40-minute mark. How's Captain Kirk doing? Yeah, the rose is becoming sweeter and gentler at the same time somehow, moving towards the musks. Speaking of bubble bath, I absolutely would not mind an à la rose bubble bath, but I suppose it would be a waste of the juice. And how are the other ones doing? The Montri from Dusita, yeah, is now very, very definitely moving into that kind of leathery and gently oud-like territory. And what about the number 4? I suppose that it's the most obvious of the 4 we've tried so far. The fairly predictable ISO-y, super cedary type stuff. It's fine, but I think this is pretty expensive. Although the pepperiness is attractive. Emma says, your description is very lively, and now I want to smell this Skandinavisk perfume. Well done. Well, not at all. They've done it, right? Okay. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Stay tuned to social media for details of when the next episode or episodes of Love at First Scent are going to appear. But until then, be good, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, take care now. Bye.